Hey everyone, it's Chris. Welcome to another episode of the Retro Hangover podcast. And if you're clicking on this means that you already know this is an RHGaiden, Retro Hangover Gaiden, which is one of the episodes, one of the shows that we have that's specific for our patrons. But today it's going to be available to everybody. This isn't me asking anybody to become a patron or anything like that. This is just an episode that we recorded with one of our patrons, and not just a patron, someone who was very active, in our Discord chat, who was active on our Twitch streams, and just a person I got to know relatively well, or just as a human being, as much as you can get to know somebody over a virtual environment, and that's Riku. The reason that this episode is coming out is we have just learned as of this week that Riku has unfortunately passed. He and it was a big loss for all of us. It's a big shock. This episode probably would not have come out for another couple months, and I really wish it didn't have to. But I want this to get out as soon as it can. This is a game that I knew he really liked, and he got me into this series with Nier. And I always talk to him over Discord about it and just compare plot points and theories about Nier Automata and how it compared to Nier. And he really got me into this game. And made me a fan of the series, and just with his overwhelming optimism and positivity, and just being an all around, just again as much as I can say from virtually just an all around decent person, decent human being. And I really hope that this episode does something, and Riku, man, we will miss you. Thank you so much. We're going to miss you on everything you were a part of, us and the Secret Levels crew. And I don't want to put out any shout outs. I mean, just they are friends of the show. They're great people too, if you haven't listened to the Secret Levels podcast. But I'm not here to advertise. I'm just here to say that this episode is for you, Riku, and thank you for sharing your time with us. And I want as many people to hear it as possible. So here's an episode of RHGaiden where we are covering Nier Automata, one of, at least as far as I know, Riku's favorite games. Also with Backlog Adam, but from the Good, Bad, and the Backlog. But yeah, this one's for you, Riku. Thank you. And rest easy. Welcome back to another RHGaiden. I think we're going to have a pretty good episode for you today, at least looking at the notes that I have set up for this, because, yeah, I'm going to have a different opinion than my guests here today, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. Maybe I'm just missing something. Maybe I'm wrong. They're going to tell me I'm wrong. I already know this feeling, and the game we're talking about today is Nier Automata, which was a game released in 2017. And I know it's been like 4 years since the game came out, but it's still too new to really talk about on our main show. I mean, it absolutely is too new to talk about on our main show. And it is somewhat relevant because this game is coming out soon. And by the time you're listening to this, well, not this game, but a remake of the original has already kind of been remade and has come out on modern consoles. But before we start talking about this, I think it's more important that we introduce our guests. So Hey guys, introduce yourselves. Let's start with you, Adam.
Well, hi. My name is Adam. I'm from The Good, the Bad, and the Backlog. You might know me from other films such as The Discord. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and thank you for coming back. I think this is the second time we've recorded with you, so by the time this episode comes out, who knows how many times you've been on. Maybe it's still 2. Maybe we hate you and you'll never come back.
Yeah, probably.
You'll hurt my feelings so badly on this recording.
But either way, you're more than welcome.
Thank you so much. We also have joining us Riku. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Riku.
Hello, I'm Riku. You may know me from such films as the Secret Levels podcast Undertale episode, and various podcasts throughout the years where I'm just a guest.
Yes, and both of these fine people are members of our Patreon, and they, like they have already said, they hang out in our Discord quite a bit. Thanks, guys, for being patrons. Thanks for showing up here for the episode. I think we're going to have a good time, at least. I think you two are going to have a good time while I get yelled at a lot. So here we go. I do need to say before we get any further, there are going to be major spoilers for Nier Automata, and even perhaps Drakengard, because they all fall in the same storyline. So if you really want to experience the story for yourself and you haven't played this game before, yeah, go do that, because a lot's going to get spoiled here, and I'm going to tell you 100% God honest truth. This is a game you don't want spoiled for yourself. Neither of these games are games you want spoiled. So go play those games.
And then come back and listen to this, because it'll be here. It's evergreen.
All right, so first let's start out with the personal history with the source content, or just Nier. You can kind of go anywhere you want to in the series and your own personal history with it. So Riku, how about let's start with you. When did you get hooked on the Nier franchise? If you want to include Drakengard, that's fine too.
Okay, well, I remember I played Drakengard 1 on the PlayStation 2, and I thought it was a really cool game. And then in 2011, this little game called Nier came out, and I was just depressed. I couldn't find a job. Or it was 2010, right? 2010 was Nier?
I think it was 2010.
I get confused.
It could be 2010.
Anyway, I was depressed. I couldn't find a job. I rented this game called Nier, and I loved it. And then 2015, I saw this trailer for this game, Nier Automata. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's connected to that Nier game I played way back in the day. And then Nier Automata came out, and I loved it. And it reminded me of why I loved Nier, because it had been so long since I'd replayed Nier that parts of that game just ruined me. But yeah, no, I love that series. I love the series. It's a great series.
Good deal. How about you, Adam?
So I originally played Nier, or I had heard about it on another podcast many years ago, probably 2011, I think. And people were saying, oh, it's really interesting. And I was keeping up to date with most RPG news and watching YouTube videos and stuff. And I remember taking note of that and being like, oh, that game looks fun. I hear it's kind of shitty, like mechanic-wise, but it looks interesting. I might give that a go. So I played it and then completely fell in love with it. I think it was maybe 2012-ish that I played it. And I was a student at the time. I'd only just recently moved into state and spent a lot of really lonely nights playing Nier by myself. And it just sort of had this, it hit the right spot at the time, because I was also feeling kind of depressed, I think, when I played it, but loved it. Came to find out later that it was connected to one of the endings from Drakengard 1. So I started getting into the Drakengard series. I don't think that Drakengard was ever actually released in Australia. I know there are PAL copies from England, but I don't think it was an Australian game. So it wasn't readily available on the PS2 back then. And so I played Drakengard 1, then I played Drakengard 3, loved Drakengard 3. I know it's kind of shit on a bit, but I loved it. And then eventually the trailer came out for Nier you guys say Automata, right? I keep wanting to say Automata.
Automata.
Yeah, so Nier Automata came out, the trailer came out. I remember looking at it and being like, holy fucking shit, this is the sequel to Nier. They made a sequel, because I was never expecting them to actually make one. So the hype was real, was super excited. And when it came out, I basically just creamed myself and loved it. And that's it.
I'm glad you creamed yourself. That sounds like a fantastic time.
That's great.
Thanks. I was quite proud of the cream.
By the way, I do acknowledge the fact it is automata. I just always say automata because I'm an idiot, and that's how I always say that word. I don't know why.
It just made me second guess how I say it, because I'm like, wait, how do I say it?
Look, it's been years since this discourse. It was everybody had their own way of pronouncing it.
Yeah,
it's okay.
Well, it stems from the word automaton.
Exactly.
Which means it's automata. However you want to say it, that's fine. Just say it however you want to.
Also plot relevant.
It is plot relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't think the way you say it is really plot relevant.
No.
So my personal experience is I got Nier a couple years back, I think, just because I've heard it was one of those underrated gems for the Xbox 360 or PS3. And I picked it up and didn't really think much of it until last year and the year before. More specifically, the year before, I had some friends that were going on social media and who couldn't shut the fuck up about Nier Automata and just how good it was and how much they loved it. And then they went to orchestras where they played the music for it and how much they loved it. I was just like, okay, whatever. Then the pandemic hit, so I guess, just like you two, I was a tad bit depressed when I played the game. And I loved the original Nier. And I had a copy of Nier Automata sitting on the shelf. And I went into Discord, and that's where I was talking to both of you about the original game. And Riku personally suggested that I needed to play Nier Automata because of how much he enjoyed it. So that's when I got into Nier Automata. I had the Game of the Yorha edition. I don't know if that matters at all, but that's the version I picked up. I think I picked it up on sale too. It was super cheap. I think it was in a Black Friday sale or just one of those sales. Ended up getting it there. But yeah, that's just ended up wrapping it up prior to this episode. So I played it recently, and now here's the forum for me to either vent or gush. Maybe a little bit of both.
I forgot that Game of the Yorha edition was a thing. I love it. I still love it. And side note, I'm so sad I was never able to go to any of those concerts. I wanted to so bad.
Maybe they'll come back. Hopefully they'll come back. One day.
I'd like that.
That'd be nice. Never say never. Never say never.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
Let's start out with Adam on the next topic here, which is story and characters. And Adam, what did you think of the story? I know this is where you're going to gush, and this is, who knows, like, this might just turn into, we'll start out with Adam, and this is just going to be a debate where Riku and Adam shout down at me and how much I'm an idiot. So go ahead, Adam, start us off.
Oh, geez, so much pressure to be the first one. Okay. Well, for me personally, I'm coming from the perspective of when I found out that the original Nier was a direct sequel to one of the endings of Drakengard. I was coming into Nier Automata with the expectation that it would be connected to the original Nier, but may not necessarily be a direct sequel in a traditional sense. So already going into it with the expectation that, hey, these are like androids and shit, we're in the future, there's more like sci-fi elements to it than Nier's original fantasy style. To me, it was almost like they're about as different as Nier is from Drakengard, and that's totally fine. So as I was playing it, love the story, love the characters. You're playing as 2B to start off with, and loved her. She's like this sexy as fuck android who looks a little bit like an Edwardian era housemaid mixed with some sort of dominatrix. So fuck yeah. And
I take it.
Yeah. And I was just in love with the style overall and the story, because knowing that it is a Yoko Taro game, I was expecting it to go in really wild directions. So I was really excited to play and see where it ended up. To me, it hit all of those marks, just like the original Nier did, but in a much different way. So it's a separate beast altogether, I think, even though it directly connects to the previous game. Yeah, somebody take the reins. I need a drink.
Okay, well, I'll tag in.
All right,
go for it.
Nier Automata is, as Adam was saying, I wasn't expecting the story to truly connect to Nier because just so much time had passed. Also, literal time had passed between the releases.
Exactly.
Right.
But basically, the way the story shakes out is it's basically aliens came, war started between the androids and robots that were created by the aliens, and I think the character writing is the part that I like the most because it takes a little while to get to understand 2B and her perspective, but I think as you go along in the game, you kind of find out that she's more than just the by the books, doesn't matter, the mission is the only thing that's important. Whereas you also kind of get with her partner 9S, you see that he's kind of always teetering on the edge of discovering the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's why he's paired up with 2B.
Yes, and that really ties into how the game all wraps up.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about this story.
Yeah,
because there's a lot there.
I can understand that.
I don't think I could synopsize Nier Automata very well.
Well, let's try to synopsize the game just by kind of briefly going over the overview, just where it starts. And essentially, you as 2B, you go down to Earth because you have to kill machines. The androids and the machines have been at war forever because in their minds, they're trying to make sure that the humans can go back down to the Earth once all the machines have been eradicated. Now, as we find out at the end of the game, there are no humans, and they're just fighting. So there's that. So that's essentially just the entirety, the baseline foundation of the plot is that you are androids, machines are bad guys, and you need to destroy machines. However, what you're figuring out is of all the androids, only 9S is the one realizing that machines have actual or at least simulated emotions that they are, exuding out. And that's something that both 2B and 9S are realizing, at least in the first half of the game, is kind of how to cope with what the machines are doing. Now, in comparison to the first game, I think you can say the characters are well written, and this is something that Riku, I'll say that Riku kind of warned me about, or he was at least interested about, is he said that he was interested to see what I would think about the game playing it so close to the first Nier, and I think that actually hurt my experience. Because I don't think that 2B and 9S are anywhere near as good as Vice and Kaine. And going in with that kind of expectation, that kind of writing, what I got from the first Nier, I didn't get that in this game. I didn't get anywhere close to that. I was going to say near to that, but I didn't get anything close to that in
I wish you did.
Game. It sounds like you guys did.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the problem, is so much time passed. Like I said, I forgot a lot about Nier by the time I played Automata. I think that's kind of the better way to do it, because I feel like the thing is you were looking for those parallels.
And I was, and I even talked to you about those parallels and what I expected to happen. And
I know.
Parallels.
We talked about this.
Yes.
There are parallels there, but I think you wanted a bit more of a connection.
No, I did. I think the reason I wanted that connection is because at a certain point in the game, I think once you get after ending B, the game almost makes it a point that it is connected to the previous game. So if you've played the previous game, you understand that everyone in Nier is a replicant. I wouldn't say they're an android, but they're all essentially artificial humans. They're essentially husks for the fake humans called gestalts to inhabit sometime down the line once the gestalts are ready to inhabit the replicants. But the replicants become self-aware, so the gestalts can never inhabit them.
Yes.
Or at least successfully. So when it got to the point in Nier where you see the machines start to have emotions, I'm like, oh shit. Like the entire plot of Nier, why they're acting human, because they made it a big point to say that the machines were acting human and that the androids were acting human. So it's like, oh shit, because the gestalts became unstable, maybe they were the ones that were inhabiting the machines because there were no more replicants because of the end of Nier. That didn't happen.
I'm glad that didn't happen.
Okay, so why are you glad that didn't happen?
Well, because that would just seem like a really cheap plot twist. And from my perspective, it's like, I'm not going to shit on the original Nier, because for all intents and purposes, that's also one of my most favorite games. I prefer Automata, but they're both beautiful in their own right. I'm glad that they're not that heavily connected. Yes, there are connections, but the whole thing about gestalts being the reason why machines are acting more human didn't really work with the theme of Automata for me. So the theme for Automata with both, so androids and machines are basically the opposite sides of the same coin. They're all experiencing human emotions now. They're all gaining sentience, even though they're opposed to each other and they're enemies, but they're robots. So for all, they're supposed to be emotionless, just get the job done type of beings, and they're all, and Yohara specifically, are trying to deny emotions, but they've clearly gained sentience, and it's this juxtaposition of their self-awareness as robots to be robots, but also they're sort of denying their own humanity, because as time has passed, it's been 10,000 years since the original Nier, they've evolved over time in ways that machines in our real world would never evolve, or you would never expect them to evolve. So I'm glad that, yeah. So I'm glad that the gestalts, or the original humans from the first Nier, are not just inhabiting machines, because it takes away from the whole theme of machine evolution, I think.
But even they mention the fact that machines aren't really learning; they're emulating. And that suggests that what are the machines learning from? It suggests they have to know something to emulate from in order to do that, because they make it a point that every single time the machines do something. But I think the exception of Pascal, but even that's debatable.
Well, they were the ones that were on the network.
We'll get to Pascal. We'll get there.
Oh,
Pascal Defense Force over here.
But you said they're all connected to the network, but you're seeing more development from them when they're off the network. And so exactly. They even refer to the network, but what is the network if it's alien?
I don't know. What is a network? How do you quantify the internet? It's hard to explain, but even the machine cores of each of the machines is almost organic rather than mechanical. So once, places like Pascal's village and the Forest Kingdom, once they had separated themselves from the network, that's when they have their own independence to evolve in their own way. And even the existence of Adam and Eve are a forced evolution of machines. So that's what I meant by them evolving.
They might have started with the base template, but as they went on, experience makes you change. Even a robot, even with robots, we see it. The video of the robot getting pushed down so it has to get back up. It's necessarily learning how to do that. So I think with Pascal's village, Pascal wanted to be a pacifist. So in that way, I can't remember how.
It's a he.
It's a he?
Yes.
Yeah.
I always forget because they have a female voice actor for a male character, which I think is really cool, and one of the reasons I like Pascal.
Right.
Anyway, that's him learning to create a community because he doesn't necessarily know how to create one.
Yeah, he's very successful at it.
He is. Well, for a time.
Right, but it's not his fault why it's not successful. It's
totally not his fault. It's whatever it's the virus?
I think it's the virus.
It's the virus.
Whatever gives people red eyes. A logic virus.
Logic virus. There we go. And then you have... fuck it. I want to talk about it. God. Pascal getting to... I think the moment for Pascal where Pascal takes over the Engels monster is such a good scene, but it breaks my heart because it's Pascal having to break his choices, but he's doing it for the right reasons because he wants to defend his kids. But then the heartbreak of he taught the kids fear, and so they killed themselves. Just soul-wrenching. And I have to ask, what did you do?
I wiped Pascal's memory. So because Riku's asking this because you get the choice of to kill Pascal, wipe Pascal's memories, or there's the secret choice of to just walk out on Pascal.
I walked away.
I walked away as well.
Which is actually, if you watch the YouTuber Klemps, I don't know, I think both of you have. I think both of you have said you liked Klemps.
I do.
Yeah, he's sexy.
Okay. But if you watch, he makes a really good point on that is that if you walk away, it's probably the most human thing to do because it would force Pascal to accept reality and to learn from it. And if you choose to wipe out Pascal's memory, then you see Pascal back in Pascal's village, essentially selling the pieces of the children the robots that were programmed to act like children or took on a child role, selling their cores and selling their pieces.
Fucking ruined me.
Yeah, it's quite stark.
What about that?
Now to kind of catch up on that, because that's later on in the story. That's in the second half of the story. To get to that point, as I said earlier, you have 2B and 9S kind of fighting this battle. Eventually, they run into it's almost like a human-like model that the machines create. It's almost like the machines give birth to it in some weird fashion. They all kind of conjoin and create a human-like machine who in turn gives birth to another human-like machine. So Adam and Eve is quite apt. Their entire point is to essentially be human, learn from humans, and to emulate humans to the best of their ability. Eventually, one of them kidnaps 9S. 2B slaughters them. That's Adam. Eve goes batshit crazy. 9S and 2B kill Eve. And then it starts with a full-scale invasion on Earth against the machines, which doesn't work out well. Everyone gets a logic virus. The bunker explodes. 2B dies, and you take over the form of A2. So 2B
can I just jump in? Can I just jump in here?
Absolutely, go for it.
When were you? I have to ask. Were you expecting the route change after you finished Route B? Were you expecting it to go into basically Nier Automata 2?
No, I wasn't, and I can see both sides to this if you really like it, because I'm not sure if I do.
I loved it. Okami does the same thing.
I haven't played Okami yet. I do.
Oh my gosh.
But at that point, I can kind of understand why after ending B, a lot of people put this game down. Because even if you go over the PSN trophies, a lot of people put this game down after the second ending. They didn't play this game all the way through.
That's so weird to me.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I just think because it presented like, oh yeah, you just went through the game. Nah, that wasn't the real game. We have now it's time to play the real game. I can understand why a lot of people would be upset with that.
I kind of get it, but at the same time, you're telling me you're not curious? Yeah, you went through it as 2B and 9S, but you have to be curious. A2 only shows up like once. Like, what's her deal? So I think those people weren't thinking.
Okay, I'll say this too. After fucking 2B like gets the logic virus herself, after she's unable to cure herself, she gets the logic virus, and you have to march towards the forest in order to cure yourself. And if you don't take the right path, you're fucked. I almost put the goddamn game down. That was not a fun sequence.
That part is very frustrating.
Yes,
I admit that.
And if the game just told me I was done, and now the character I thought was the main character through my first playthrough, if I'm just a filthy casual, and now that character can't move, can't do shit, I'm getting attacked by a bunch of fucking machines because I fell down into the goddamn pit, and there's no way to get back up it. Yeah, I'd put my goddamn controller down too.
I don't get it.
It's been a while, but can't you just reload? Can't you just like load a checkpoint, or am I wrong on this?
It starts you back off in the flooded city.
Yeah, so you have to do the whole walk again. Look, for me, I played that one. So I've played this recently as well because we're going to talk about it. But I ended up actually getting locked into a death sequence where I couldn't get myself out of it because I fell into the crater as 2B and I couldn't walk fast enough to get away from enemies. So they would keep whittling my health down and I'd keep using automatically healing items. So I had to reset that section. So I get that is frustrating. But I don't understand the mentality of there's gameplay here and it's already shown you like a trailer right at the end of ending B that there's more game to come and the credits even load you into gameplay. You know the game's not over yet. Why would you put the controller down to stop playing altogether if you know there's more game and it's already alluded to and specifically said that there's more game to come? Like they've put in warnings so people don't do it, but I don't know. I'm just the kind of person that prefers not to leave a game half finished, so I would have seen it through to the end regardless. But yeah,
I don't know. I think it's once that feeling that these main villains, these main antagonists that were built up are defeated, and now it's like, well, now, yeah, there's just more stuff to do. I don't know, like, for a lot of people, they'd be like, oh, for fuck's sakes, really? Because you can play that game for about a good 20, 30 hours before you get to that point.
Yeah, that's true. But I never really saw them as the main antagonist, so I'm glad that they flipped the script on that, and then once they were dead, they stayed dead, and they introduced a whole nother threat. And the tower coming out of nowhere, I was like, fuck, that's cool.
Also, late title drop, I loved it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I agree. I think the setup was really, really good. I don't know. For me, the story, it just didn't have the emotional punches the first Nier did.
Come on. Are you...
I'm serious, man. Like, I'm trying to think of something. The only time I could really think about, like, the emotional kind of aspect to it is in the forest, when they're all trying to say they're going to defend their king, and they started their own little kingdom, and like wow, like this is sad. Like that was heart wrenching. I didn't want to go destroy their little kingdom. But then I think back to Nier and what happened with the wolf, and I'm like, no, there's nothing in Automata like that.
You're kidding me. 9S eulogizing 2B and with all the fucking tears.
Sure, the lunar tears. Sure. So if you want to say that the most emotional parts of the games are when the game calls back to the first one, we can say that.
Totally
look, that is one moment, but also they play Kaine's theme. God damn it, I cried.
Yeah, it was a good thing. It was a great scene.
It's a great thing, but I also find like the 9S breaking down throughout Route C and D, which was so rough because he's just like. He's on a path of vengeance, but he's just losing his mind. And the moment like he loses his hand and like there's a fucking version of 2B right there in front of him and he touches her, like, come on. That didn't pull at you at least a little bit?
No, because I could never get it out of my head that they are just artificial intelligence. They were just robots.
But they're not.
They are robots,
sentient.
but they have human emotions. They try to say they don't, but look at the way 9S reacts to A2 killing 2B. Sure. Like, that is emotion.
No, you're right. It is. And that's why 9S was my favorite character. But at the end of the day, it's just like everything here is robotic. And that there's... it's robotic. Everything is different. So, like in the original Nier, when you're killing shades, the shades are implicitly, they're bad guys. It's not that you have their perspective. They're not overtaken by like a network or a hive mind. You don't know you're slaughtering people, but you're slaughtering people. And this one, nothing changes. The entire time, everything's a robot.
I got to jump in. Here's the thing. They are robots, but when humanity doesn't exist anymore and androids are now a life form and machines are now a life form and they're both sentient and have human emotions, they are essentially now human. So just because they're made out of artificial parts does not mean that they don't feel and think and love. And the thing I love, and I'm going to throw back to something that you said a lot earlier, which I didn't have a chance to respond to, but you said that you didn't care for the characters, but I actually really fucking loved the characters in Nier Automata. I connected with 2B and 9S and A2 on virtually the same level, if not more than I did with Kaine, Weiss, and Nier in the original game. It's just a different angle and perspective, and it's a different type of story. So you can't parallel the two games in that fashion. But I was really into 2B and finding out later on that she was actually supposed to be a 2E model, which is an exterminator. And the reason why she's paired up with 9S is because his model is so curious, he always finds out the truth. And she is there to kill him over and over again and wipe his memory and bring him back. So she has killed him so many times before, and she has this mass amount of guilt built up about it. And 9S loves 2B, and I think, like, even to some aspect, he is not necessarily aware that she has killed him several times over, but he has a connection with her that goes further than what his memory files will dictate. So he has this built-up emotion with her, and he spent so much time with her, and like even her, like, finding out the revelation that she's had to kill him over and over again puts into perspective everything that you've played up to that point and every reaction she's ever had to anything he says. Like when he tries to get her to call him Nines and she refuses, and then slowly she sort of comes around to the idea of it. It's because she doesn't want to emotionally connect with him again because she knows that she's going to have to kill him again, and it's wearing down her psyche. So I love that.
I was just going to bring up how they choreographed the 2E reveal with you meeting a E unit earlier in a side quest.
Oh yeah, I love that.
I don't think choreographed. I don't know the word.
Well, they set it
Call
up.
back. Set it up. Thank you.
So it's just this brilliant moment where, like, one of the side quests that you think is throwaway and unimportant actually reveals real world lore that is integral to the main plot. So you're introduced to a model which winds up being an exterminator model, and up to this point you don't even know what they are. They've never been mentioned before. You don't think it's going to be important, but it winds up later on that one of the main characters you played as for the first third of the game is a 2E model, and it's relevant to the plot. So I thought that was a brilliant way of setting up that real world connection, or main plot connection. I've lost my train of thought. But anyway, I love the main characters in Nier Automata, and they all have their own emotional arcs that they go on, and just because they're not people or human doesn't make their emotional arcs invalid. So I just don't understand that way of thinking as to why you couldn't connect with them.
I'm not saying they're invalid. I'm just saying it just didn't connect. It didn't land.
Yeah, but because they're not people.
It's just right. It's because they're robots. And if that's always sticking in the back of my head, like these are serving a purpose for a higher order, I'm more interested in more of the lore of it and what's going on. And this is something I think I messaged Riku before. I don't think he got back to me, but it's certainly in my notes. It's different because in this game I was more concerned about how did everything end up the hell it did, rather than what was going on with the characters. Now you had a different train of thought on that, and that's perfectly acceptable. I'm not going to knock you down for that. If they reached out to you and connected with you like that, that's great. But it didn't do that for me because, you know, I think like the moment the game started and they're like, oh, you know, this is for humans. I'm like, there ain't no fucking humans on the moon. I know that shit. Like the way they talk about it, the way they pulled out the twists in the original Nier, it's like there are no humans in the moon. So what are they going to do about this? And that was kind of sticking in the back of my mind the entire game. And again, I think that goes back to if I had played this game before the original Nier, I think I would have a completely different outlook on it. And I like when I'm saying I played it right before the original Nier, I'm talking about like less than 6 months. I had just played like one or two games, Riku, before I played.
Yeah,
Automata.
You played like Orc Battle 64 and Cycle of the Metatron or whatever that game is.
Something like that. But I hadn't played a lot of games in between.
No, and I feel like I feel bad because I suggested you play Nier first, and I feel like that fucked you. I feel like it fucked you up.
But we'll never know. We won't know one way or another.
Never know.
But it's good to put recommendations to people, as we had in the Discord. If you're thinking about getting into the Nier franchise, yes, I would definitely recommend going with Automata first. And just because, like I said, I was looking for the twists, and I could see a lot of the twists coming. I could see what was happening, and the most important parts of the game were those that were callbacks and direct throwbacks to the original game. And I remember I was having a conversation with Riku, and he's like, you weren't shocked to see Devla and Popola there? I'm like, no, they were there. You could see that they were them as soon as you walked into the city. And you're like, oh, they're supposed to be dead. What the fuck are they doing here? And they don't address it until almost the end of the game. And then you find out they're not even really Devla and Popola. And their story is extremely sad in terms of what happened to them. That's where I kind of had the emotional connect, because you're looking at an entire class that's programmed to feel guilt. That's programmed to feel like they caused harm to the greater, like to everything, and then everything is their fault, and just everyone kind of lets it happen. That was a shitty part. And it didn't even really land with me, but it did when you saw them that they were sacrificing themselves in order for 9S and A2 to get into the final tower. That was a big moment for me. But again, that was because of my relationship with the first game, and I'm sure it was for a lot of people as well.
I think a lot of people, though, if you look at the numbers for how many people have played Nier and how many people have played Automata, the vast majority of them haven't played the original. So I love the way that they set up Automata because, yes, it throws back to the original game, but you don't have to have played it to understand what's happening. Like, it educates you as you go, and even the things that are references to the previous game aren't really that important. They're just things that will enhance your experience if you know them. But to go back to what you said about you wanted to know the overall plot, like what was going on in the world. I was the complete opposite. I wanted to know what was going on with the characters because it was the character bylines that were keeping me hooked and engaged. It wasn't necessarily what happened to humans on the moon because I had played the original. I knew that humans were already dead. And I knew that going in. I was like, okay, I wonder if they're actually going to be dead or if they're going to try something different or if they're going to retcon the original game. Let's see where this goes. I'm obviously thinking that they're dead. Then, of course, it comes out that they're dead. I'm like, okay, great. But why? And then I started, like, that was interesting to me and that kept me hooked. I didn't really care necessarily about everything that was leading up from Nier to this one because they're so vastly different in setting that it really didn't matter. At least to me. Like, if you compare Nier and Drakengard, there is so much lore, like more than you would ever find in the original Nier game, like supplementary materials that expands on the hundreds of years, thousands of years that have passed between the timeline of ending E and Drakengard and the start of Nier. And all the stuff that happens in between is fascinating to read about. But it's the same deal with Nier and Nier Automata. It's 10,000 years in the timeline that's between both games. So it's not going to be a direct, hey, this is what happened to Kaine and Nier and Emil and blah, blah, blah. I mean, you get a little bit of it with Emil, which I loved, but...
I loved Emil in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
But the point is that the whole like world development stuff was much less important to me than the characters and the character interactions because I loved them. Yeah. Boom. Next.
Okay. I know.
Yeah.
Is there anything? I mean, I know we're not touching on a lot of stuff of the story. Does anyone really want to get into the philosophical aspects of this? Did anyone really get anything out of the, I would say, very overt philosophical tidbits they dropped in this game?
I mean, it's so heavy-handed.
Yes.
It's like obvious.
I am not an intellectual, so that stuff goes right over my head. I never did anything philosophy related whatsoever in school. So I didn't even know I'd heard who Nietzsche was anyway, just through general life. But I don't know what his philosophies were. I don't really know anything about him. I was less interested in the philosophy because most of that went over my head. I was just in it for the nihilism.
Kind of same, to be honest.
Yeah. Because everything is meaningless and fuck it.
Yeah, kind of same. Like, I saw all the philosophy stuff, and I'm like, okay, yeah. And Pascal totally calls out Nietzsche, and I'm like, oh yeah, all right, cool. And Pascal's wager. Hey, more philosophy. It's like Yoko Taro took a philosophy class and wanted to embed it into the game.
I appreciate the amount of effort that they went into to keep all those themes, and even references to the opera singing robot or whatever is some reference to a feminist philosopher or something whose name I don't remember because it's not relevant and fuck women, but
wow.
You're fired.
No.
I'm just kidding.
I wish I could A2 or 2B right now.
2B me in the B2. No, anyway, the point is that all of that stuff for me is that goes over my head anyway. So I appreciate that the effort they put into to reference all those materials, but I care less about that than I care about 9S's incredible meltdown, which I was like gave me anxiety. Like, I felt a tightness in my chest when he was breaking down. I was like, oh man, this is not going to end well for you. But anyway,
Okay, another moment I kind of have to call out when 9S's operator tries to turn into a B, goes from an operator unit to a B unit.
Oh yeah,
at the top of that tower.
That
I was just like,
cool.
oh man.
Yeah, that was a hard battle to fight. But it was also it was one of the easier battles too. And we'll get into the gameplay here after we take after our break. But I do think, yeah, that was a hard moment because his operator, it was such a hard ass, but she was broken down, and those subtleties I really appreciated. Those kind of things that were hidden, like when you met the androids and all they wanted to do was make a family, or that she wanted to make on a side quest, or that his operator wanted to make a family. I think it was like 610 or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
You take a look at 2B's operator and how cheery and chippy and how emotional she was, even though it went against protocol to be emotional. Those are things I did appreciate. The things that were more subtle, the things that weren't as in your face, the things that, you didn't... For me, I didn't really think about until well after the fact. I just didn't get that from the main line. And I'm glad you guys did. And it seems like a lot of other people have as well. I couldn't get it. I can't tell you why. I have my own theories. I've put those out there. And, I don't want to apologize for them because that's just how I feel about it. But I don't know how to really quantify why I feel the way I do.
Look, I get it. There are games that lots of people love that I don't get and don't understand, like Horizon Zero Dawn. Fucking everybody loves that game, and I thought it was not that great. So I get it that this is just one of those games in the same vein, and I'm sad that you feel that way. But I know 4 people independent of each other who don't know each other who all have Your Heart tattoos now. So if that's not saying that there is an immense amount of love for these games.
Well, there absolutely is.
I literally thought about getting a Your Heart tattoo.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't.
Hey, I already fucked up and got an anime tattoo. I don't need another one.
Oh no.
Is it the dog from Full Metal Alchemist?
Oh, don't bring up Nina. No, it's even worse. It's fucking Sasuke's curse mark. From Naruto.
Oh, that's going to age poorly.
Oh, it's already aged poorly. I got it when I was 18.
All right, so let's take a break, and we will be right back after a quick musical break. All right, everyone, and welcome back. Hopefully I put in a good track there for you all to enjoy. There's plenty of good tracks to select in this album, but, we'll talk about that in a few. But before we get into that, we're going to roll right into what I think is pretty much the thing that drew a lot of people in the game initially. And this is where Happy Chris is going to show up and is just going to stop being all negative, I think, for the rest of the episode. So I actually think the rest of the episode is going to go pretty swimmingly and maybe even pretty quickly, but we'll find out, because I think we're all in agreement here. Everything that we have on the list here is fantastic, and we're going to start out by talking with the gameplay to this game. Riku, do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, I remember the announcement trailer for this game literally showed off Platinum, and I was like, excuse me? Platinum? Working with Yoko Taro? Yes, fuck yes. Like, dream come true. Because, we played Nier. The combat in that game is... it's not great. So, when you get people who can just make combat that's buttery smooth, like Platinum, it's great.
Yeah, so I love Platinum because I am a absolute Bayonetta fanboy. I fucking love that shit. And actually listening to your episode on it, Chris, I don't understand why you found it so hard, because that game is like the first time I had played an action game similar to like Devil May Cry, which I had actually fucking rocked at. So the fluidity of the battle system, I fucking loved in Bayonetta, and to hear that Platinum were going to be doing the Nier sequel, I was super hyped, and I was not disappointed at all. Love the battle system. It's everything I could have wanted and more.
Yeah, and look, I still find the game hard, Adam. Thank you for calling me a noob. I really appreciate you shaming me about me not being as great as video games as you are, asshole.
Yeah, look up a guide, why don't you? Fuck.
Yeah, good.
I mean, let's be honest. We're all older here. It's okay to not be good at the combat in a Platinum game. I used to be good at Platinum games. Not anymore, because I got old.
Yeah, sure, and that's kind of the feeling I got when I went into this game too. Now that's just because I don't like the controller layout for the most part. It took me a while to get used to using the trigger button on a PS4 controller as my dodge button. I'm much more used to the kind of Wii U or Xbox 360 controller setup. It's slightly different for me to wrap my head around.
Like a face button to dodge.
Yeah, I'm used to a face button to dodge. So when I first started playing this game, both of you were in the Discord, and I was just like furious. Like, who the fuck made the controller this way? This is fucking garbage. Who assigned dodge to the R2 trigger? And they're like, wait, I just came out with the Bayonetta episode. And I love the combat there. And what's the dodge button in Bayonetta? Oh, fuck. It's the goddamn trigger button. I'm an idiot.
I remember.
I was like, okay, let me sit down with this. I need to think of this not so much as Nier, but I need to think of this as Bayonetta. And then once I put that in my head and I reassign the robot, because you have a fucking pod that shoots out like lasers and bullets and shit. Once I assigned that button to the L2 button and my dodge the R2 button, I started to accommodate to the entire battle system fairly quickly. It doesn't mean I'm good at the game. It doesn't mean I found it incredibly easy. But I do think it was much easier than Bayonetta, for example. But once you adjust to this fucking gameplay is like butter. It is so good. It's like slapping some oil on fucking 2B's fat, thick ass. It is amazing.
It's like fucking an ass that's already full of cum.
Yup.
I mean, what?
I mean, okay.
JK fam.
No, you're not.
No, I am. Who wants to... no. Moving on. Just wanted to make things uncomfortable. I'm curious for both of you guys, how did you set up your plug-in chips? Because the first time I played this, I sort of neglected how I used my plug-in chips, which are like your upgrades or your equipable whatever things. And I basically just souped up the power of my melee attacks, and then that was it. But the second time around that I've played this game, I took advantage of like the shockwave ability. I took advantage of all of the healing chips. I would basically never needed a healing item because I would heal every time I hit an enemy, and then I'd heal after a couple of seconds. I was healing like constantly, so I never needed an item ever, and I basically never died. So that was really fun. So how did you guys set yours up?
Let me just kind of elaborate exactly what Adam's talking about here for people who don't know. And he kind of alluded to it. Plug-in chips are a system where you get these abilities, and you have so many slots that you can assign to your pod that will allow you to do different things. And he kind of went over that, like some allow you to heal, some allow you to find items, some allow you to do stronger attacks, stronger defense. So it gives you a whole different list of abilities that you can give yourself to tailor make your own gameplay experience and what you like doing or what you want to prioritize in that fashion.
I mainly went with healing and like dodge upgrades.
Did you do the witch time one?
Overclock.
Yeah,
That's it.
If a game has a witch time-esque mechanic, I want it. I'm not going to get it all the time, but when I do, I feel like a badass.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is about overclock too, and that's the chip that you can use, is that the more you upgrade it, because you can upgrade them by fusing them, is you can extend it with every upgrade. So it can be longer than what you get in Bayonetta, theoretically.
I totally forgot. I don't think I ever interacted with the chip fusion.
You have to.
I don't remember doing it. I don't remember doing it very much.
I spent a lot of time fusing chips of a low value so that would be as potent as possible without taking up as much space. So I think I spent a few hours on that.
That's exactly the same way I did it. My chip setup was definitely more balanced with a focus on offense. I made sure that my auto heal was always there, so after 6 seconds I could, get out of a battle and heal myself. Just trying to make sure I didn't get too much damage during a battle. But the way you can use healing items too is very forgiving. So you can just open up an item. So there's two ways you can do it. You can use items in real time, or you can open up a menu and use items from that menu while gameplay is stopped. So even if you're taking serious damage during a battle, you really don't have much to worry about. And the game is actually very generous in how often it gives you healing items. It doesn't shy away from giving you these items almost every single turn. So keeping yourself alive in this game is actually, I would say, fairly easy. Again, this is a Yoko Taro game. Yoko Taro is, from the games I've experienced, he more wants you to play his game for the story he's trying to tell rather than the gameplay experience.
Oh, Yoko Taro likes to fuck things up as well. I mean,
absolutely.
Let me just say I'm fucking glad that there is no rhythm boss in Nier Automata or Nier, where like you have to fly around as a dragon and combat laser rings being shot at you by using a rhythm game.
But you do have a shmup and a twin stick shooter.
Yeah, true.
One thing I forgot to bring up in story was, has anybody checked out the Final Fantasy XIV raid?
I'd heard about it.
I've heard of it.
Because apparently at one point Yoko Taro wanted you to only be able to use a raid once, or it would delete your character.
Okay, that's a very Yoko Taro thing to do.
It's a very Yoko Taro thing, but it's just a small thing I felt like I needed to bring up.
So there's obviously there's two more gameplay things I really want to discuss here. And one includes two, and I just said the kind of like the shmup and twin stick shooter portions. What'd you guys think of those?
Fun, except for the whale boss. I hate it.
I love that boss.
I hate that boss. What the fuck?
Minority.
That's one of my favorite bosses. Okay, let me explain why that's my favorite boss. It's because almost every other boss in that game is kind of a typical hack and slash kind of boss. I mean, that boss doesn't require a ton of additional strategy, but it requires some strategy on how you approach it and what you're doing to attack it. It's just not shoot at it until it dies. I mean, it pretty much is, but it's not like the other typical bosses are. There's a little bit more thought involved. And when I say a little bit, like not a ton, it's literally just a little bit.
Yeah. I'll admit the shmup, shoot 'em up stuff usually isn't my cup of tea. I don't really go for those type of games, and the twin stick shooter thing, I suck at them like real bad. But so the first time I played Automata, it was probably my least favorite part of the game. But the second time around, I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. And I got the hang of it a lot faster. I was like, this is actually really fun. So I'm glad that they put that in there. And I just love the way that as you play, in general, they throw different gameplay styles at you as you just progress through the story. Like they'll go to a 2D side scroller, then you have like the shoot 'em up sections, and you have the flight unit stuff. It's cool. And then of course hacking.
I didn't really consider them when they went to the 2D side scroller portions any different than when it was normally. It was just a different camera perspective. I actually didn't like it when it did that too often. It took me a while to adjust. But you guys want to talk about the hacking? Yeah, I love the hacking. And again, hacking's a twin stick shooter, but I still loved it. And I do like twin stick shooters, to be honest. I really love the hacking approach. It actually made 9S my preferred character to play as, just period. How about, it sounds like you did too, Riku.
I did. Look, listen. I love 2B. I love A2, but I love 9S too. 9S is cool. Here's the thing. I like that those characters are played so differently. Not necessarily 2B and A2, but those two and 9S. Like, there's a different strategy. So it depends on what I want to play. Do I want to play Hacker Man, or do I want to go full, like, mice in a blender playing as 2B or A2? So I appreciated both of them, but I kind of think 9S is my favorite.
Yeah.
He kind of sucks as an, like, hack and slash mode, though. It's all heavy attacks. He's much slower. So the emphasis there, I do believe, is more so on hacking.
I fucking kicked so much ass as 9S. In the first game, 2B was my favorite, and I actually felt really cheated that she died. I was like, fuck, she was my favorite. And that kind of actually soured me the first time I played for the rest of the game. But anyway, second time around, playing as 9S, he easily became my favorite because I was so familiar with it that I didn't need the heavy attack anymore. And even though I didn't hack enemies in general combat, I had figured out a way to make him an absolute DPS monster. And that was to just whack on a bunch of fucking critical hit plus chips on him and equip him with the iron pipe, because he would just critical hit almost every single thing he hit with that weapon, and they would go down in like 2-3 hits. It was so cool.
And that goes back to just the chip manipulation and how much you can style any character to tailor to your gameplay style.
Yeah.
And that's
that's nuts.
Appreciated. I absolutely love that about it.
And in my head canon, 9S is just running around in the legit canon lore with an iron pipe instead of an actual weapon.
I also thought his sword was pretty cool. Like his gold, he had like the dark hilted blade with the sort of gold looking blade. I thought it looked cooler than the 2B's all white like katana.
Yeah, he was the yin to the yang, because his blade was called the Cruel Oath, and hers was like the virtuous something or other.
The virtuous promise. I don't know. I don't remember.
Virtuous dignity.
I think that, yeah.
Which is interesting, because if you go down the plot, as we just said in the story, like 2B's more of the darker character, and 9S is more of the pure character, and their weapons are swapped. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I also kind of look at it like this, too, in terms of the gameplay. In the original Nier, as Riku alluded to, there was really no point to go to anything other than short swords, because the spear and the heavy... I mean, eventually, if you got used to the spear could be useful enough. But the heavy swords were so slow that they were just more of a encumbrance than a joy to play. But I would say all the weapons that are available in Automata, they're all fun to play with once... They all have a play style that you can accustom yourself to and enjoy ultimately. There's no real weak weapon or one weapon you could say just avoid it at all costs. I think they're all pretty good.
Yep.
Shout outs to the fist weapons, because god damn it, does it feel good to just be A2 and just punch the shit out of everything. I may or may not have been throwing in invisible punches at that moment.
I was going to make a joke about butt punching, but I won't.
What do you think about a lot of the transit times? I know that there was fast travel, and that did help out a lot, but I do think there are a lot of very wide and empty spaces. And I understand that's appropriate for lore and that's appropriate for the storytelling. When I think of a big pain in the ass for a lot of this game is the desert. The desert kind of it sucked.
Sucks.
Yeah, it sucked. Almost all of the desert sucked. All parts of the desert sucked. I don't think I'd like traversing any of it, to be honest.
I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't really like the desert biome, but you don't need to be there that often.
A lot of quests go out that way, though.
Yeah. I like the large empty spaces.
It's also an excuse to talk to Jackass, though.
So why did you like the large empty spaces, Adam?
Because it's a fucking power trip to be running around as a super fast android, just sprinting everywhere and then jumping on buildings and stuff, like in the city area. But in the desert itself, like fucking sliding down those hills, I was like, sweet, cowabunga. Though granted, I didn't spend that much time in the desert either. But while I was there, I didn't mind it. And I like the fact that everything's so open and you can just like run. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to get from one side of the map to the other if you're just running.
Oh, you get an animal and it's even better. Just grab a moose.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I don't like those animals.
Moose riding.
There's really no point to doing that either. I mean, it's nice that it's an option, but it's there.
It's a callback to the first game with the boar.
It's fun. I mean, it is faster than doing it normally.
True. But you can't take the animals in the desert. Bummer.
Boss battles, as we said, I don't think there's really any boss battles I found particularly innovative outside of the one that Riku hates and both me and Adam like. I think they're all kind of hack and slash fest, but that's just, it's a platinum thing. So yeah, definitely this game is a platinum game through and through. If you like platinum games, you're going to like this game. If you like smooth, buttery action games, you're going to like this game from a gameplay standpoint, at least. So I think we're all in agreement that the gameplay is fucking solid.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, great.
And I think that's leads right into the graphics. I don't even think this is going to last long because the graphics are fucking phenomenal. And if anyone says they're bad, I want to know why. Why won't you like these? These are gorgeous. This game is amazing looking.
The fucking fabric tech, like the way 2B's skirt sways in like whenever there's like a strong breeze. It just looks so goddamn good.
The lighting is so
First time I played it, I actually found the graphics to be a little underwhelming.
Why? Why?
Well, I mean, it didn't bother me, but I just sort of felt like some of the environment level design, it looked a little, in my mind at the time, a little low polygon type of, jagged, very angular square. Like, for example, in the city ruins, the buildings aren't exactly the most detailed, I suppose, at the time. That's what I thought. But it didn't bother me because the character models are so cool and the animation everywhere. The animation is fucking smooth as shit and so beautiful that it didn't bother me, and I was loving my experience anyway. So regardless, it looks better than the original Nier. So woo! But this time around, playing on the Xbox One X, holy shit! Beautiful. Like I played base PS4 first time. This time on the One X, I stopped almost like every 10 minutes when I was in the final level in the tower to take screenshots because it's so fucking beautiful. Like the environment design is gorgeous. Love it.
Oh, yeah, the freaking tower.
And the copied city.
Yes.
The copied city was another one that was a gorgeous looking environment.
Kind of freaky in a weird way.
Yes.
Like, there's something about it that just unnerved
It's like
me.
an Escher painting.
I mean, I got kind of a similar feeling to the tower, but there was something just so off about the copied city that really just unnerved me.
Ooh, what about in the tower when you actually enter the library from the first game?
Oh,
That was fucking sweet.
made me sad.
Wait, when you entered the library,
I was like,
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nier, yes.
that was fucking
And then it
cool.
was crazy that in order to advance the story, you went down to where Kaine was kept.
Mm-hmm.
Yup.
Yeah, that was
Like,
awesome. I wish I remember going into Devil and Popola's room. I was hoping for a little bit more in there, but it was still cool to revisit all of that. Just how that was so much the hub of Nier, and it's there, and it's like, this is amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
Remembering Nier through this game, I think it may be why I love it so much, because it brought me back to 2011, and I was like, oh yeah.
I will say this. I'm got to ask if anyone got these vibes. And if you haven't played the game, just let me know. During the shooter sections, did anyone get like the graphical vibes of Ikaruga?
A little bit.
It looks like Astral Chain just completely borrowed all of the designs from the flight robots.
Oh my god, Astral Chain.
A little bit.
So good.
Oh yeah, that game's great.
It's also a Platinum game, so it's not like, it's to be completely unexpected.
Mm.
It also borrows heavily from Evangelion.
A lot of things borrow heavily from Evangelion.
True.
Almost everything in Japan borrows from Evangelion at this point. Any mainstream thing, anyway, you can make an argument for.
Hell, FFR did. Or FF7R.
Of course it did.
Yeah, I mean graphic good.
How long did you guys spend looking at 2B's arse?
Not very long, to be honest.
Not long in game, but I've seen a lot of artwork.
Yes, you have. I'm sure you have.
I mean, okay, let's be honest. Who exploded? Who used self-destruct?
Oh yeah.
I did for a trophy and not for 2B.
Yep. I did for 9S.
I did for everybody. I had to know.
You kind of have to for A2 because that's her special ability to go into Berserk mode.
Berserk mode. Forgot. Never used it. Used it once, and I was like, this is awful.
I also used it for a trophy before Pascal got into one of the giant robots.
Mm-hmm.
Before you played Rock'em Sock'em, because it requires 50 people to kill, and there's just a bunch of machines coming towards you. Like, oh, okay, I'll go Berserk mode and just slaughter all these motherfuckers.
I tried to end the boss fight where they recommend it, and that is the worst place to use it.
Oh, it's terrible. That's not the place. Oh, it's so bad.
And then I never used it again. I was like, nope, this is terrible. Never going to use it.
So yeah, let's talk about Berserk mode for a second. So A2 is the character that kind of replaces 2B, if you haven't already inferred that, because I don't think we've directly said that. So once 2B dies, you get the ability to play as A2, who's it's essentially 2B for all intents and purposes. Except she has a couple of additional stuff that she can do. Like her dash lasts longer, and she has Berserk mode. And Berserk mode is where she can do more damage over a short period of time, but over that time, she continuously loses health. And once she is down to like almost no health, then she's out of Berserk mode and she becomes vulnerable.
I mean, it's platinum. They have put in a devil trigger. You know, like in Devil May Cry, where you turn into a demon. They have to give you the upgrade. It happens in Astral Chain too.
Okay.
Like they have to do it.
I'm taking your word for it. I haven't played either of those games.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Bayonetta really doesn't have one though. Damn, I really can't. I don't have a parallel for you.
Well, I mean, someone's listening and they're like, yeah. I'm sure Adam is right now is like, yeah.
Oh, I know what a devil trigger is, but yeah.
It's not very good. It's not a good one.
No, when Riku says he didn't use Berserk Mode, I can completely understand because once Berserk Mode is done, you're fucked.
Yup.
Unless you kill everything or you're just good at getting out of the way.
Yeah, Berserk Mode is last resort.
So much so.
Would we also talk about the UI here? Because, the fucking UI in this game is clean.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, it's just so nice.
It should be that clean, though.
And, we forgot to bring up the part when you're doing, when you're playing the twin stick shooter and it turns out you've been playing on the pause screen.
Huh?
What?
When you're, what boss fight is it? And you're 9S and you hack into the boss and you have to do various twin stick moments, but then it zooms out to show that you've just been playing the shoot 'em up, the twin stick part on the pause screen.
I don't remember that part.
I don't know.
Am I crazy?
I don't remember that either.
Oh, I after the show, I'm going to find a video of it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I could have not noticed, but I just don't remember.
I will say this, and this is a cool gameplay point. When you first start out the game as 2B, and you hear 9S talking to you about to configure your menu and to configure all your settings.
Oh.
And it says record, and you're like, yeah, whatever. It's not fucking recording. And then you go and play as 9S.
Yep.
And whatever you fucking did as 2B during that sequence, it does it the exact same way as what you did when you were 2B.
I remember that because I spent about 5 minutes on my phone. So I had to sit through like watching me not do anything. And I was like, for fuck's sake, you idiot. Oh my God. But it was funny. I love that little detail.
I did as well. All right. Let's move on to another thing we're all going to be happy about, and that is the music and the sound, which is so good.
I want to jump in.
I don't go.
Okay.
Oh.
Segueing from the hacking stuff. Oh, it's so fucking cool that when you enter a hacking section, the music stays exactly the same, but it switches to like 16-bit. Oh,
Chiptune. Yeah,
how did they do that? That is magic.
Dynamic soundtrack, baby. That's what it's called.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, and even when you're running around and you enter a battle or whatever, the background music that's playing in the city, for example, then it dynamically changes to being like more battle-heavy music, but it's the same tune when you enter a fight in the city, if that makes sense. So, does it make sense? No,
it
that
does.
I understand what you mean. It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
So you're running around, music's playing, and then you enter a battle. The same track is playing, but it dynamically changes into a battle theme, and then dynamically changes back to being background music once the battle is over. It's fucking cool.
I have no complaint. And here's another thing. I typically play games in Japanese when they're, Japanese games. The American, or should I say English voice acting here is spot on. Every single voice actor here is good.
Oh my gosh,
I don't want to sound
great.
like a broken record and say it's not as good as Vice and Kaine, but I mean,
but that's not fair. That's Liam O'Brien and Laura Bailey.
Yeah, that's impossible. You can't be as good as they are. So, yeah, put them aside. Everybody here does their job perfectly. Every single voice actor here does their job damn near flawlessly. I don't have any complaints about the voice acting here, and this is coming from someone who on default will almost always put their language to Japanese because I cannot stand English voice acting in fucking Japanese video games. But here it is good. It doesn't suck, and I love it. I
mean, specifically shout outs to Kira Buckland, because the voice of 2B, because I'm pretty sure that was her first voice acting role.
Oh shit.
If that's the case, yeah, hats fucking off.
She's also in River City Girls, so that's why I picked that game.
Also, at 9S, fucking best one ever. Loved him so much. His screams.
Kyle McCarley?
I don't know. But his screams, man.
Yeah, no.
You hear a lot of screams in like anime games. This one was actually like, fuck yeah, I feel that scream. It's not just some little like kid screaming into a mic or whatever. It's like an actual fucking pained scream. And the same with the guy that did Eve.
Didn't he win an award for his voice acting work?
He did.
Well, it's well deserved.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic here.
I also have to bring it up because I always have to bring it up. 2B's Pod, voiced by DC Douglas, the voice of Wesker.
And the voice of Grimoire Noir.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
I forgot.
Yes, it is. Even more important. Even more topical. Is Wesker the same in every single Resident Evil game?
Pretty much. He's not
Wesker in Resident Evil 1?
I don't know if well, in my mind, which remake, yes.
Stop. Don't open that door.
No, that's not. Well, yeah, I don't think that's him in Resident Evil 1, but it is in every other, even in Marvel vs. Capcom. What are your favorite tracks? Because I have a few.
Me. My turn.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Obviously, the fight boss battle with the opera singer robot, and the remixed version of Song of the Ancients when Deviler and Popola are fighting outside the tower was beautiful.
I wasn't going to bring up Song of the Ancients because it's from Nier, so.
But it's remixed.
Amusement Park, Bipolar Nightmares. Fuck it. The Grandma remix.
What's the Grandma remix? Kaine's theme.
Yeah,
Got it.
I guess since the plug was pulled, I'll just pop that one out.
It is in the game. I'll give it to you. And you should also check out the original Nier soundtrack because that is also phenomenal. I don't have the name of the soundtracks as you guys do. I just thought it was just a tour de force in terms of overall sound design. I can't even remember specific scenes where I liked the music. It was just, all of it was just so good. The amusement park got old after a while. I will say that. It got a little old for me, even though it was really good. It's just, I think I spent a little too much time there. That's all I have to say about that aspect. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's still fantastic.
That's fair.
This is one of the few soundtracks that I actually listen to regularly.
It's a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Well, other than that, hey, does anyone have anything else that they want to put out about the music or the sound before we wrap this thing up?
Oh, I hated Emil's shop music.
Oh, fuck off.
Fuck you.
It was so annoying.
That song is great.
Fuck you.
Fuck off.
I intentionally avoided his shop sometimes when he was doing that little annoying little jingle. I'm just like,
No, it's
shush.
great.
It was so cute. I loved it. I don't mean, like, not the song itself maybe as a whole, but I thought it was just cute. It was wholesome.
Oh, his shop is cute, but the song was annoying. And I was like,
I wish you could actually, like, buy all the same shit no matter where Emil is, and depending on where he shows up, being able to buy stuff is fucking frustrating. But other than that, it's fine.
Yeah, true. I mean, I still love Emil, but I was just like, stop that annoying
Emil's great.
singing.
I like this singing.
Sorry I brought this up, but did anybody fight the Square Enix CEO?
Oh.
Where, what?
No, not yet.
Where's that
If you do the dungeon, if you do like the optional fight arenas, the final character you fight is the Square Enix CEO.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I'm not quite up to that yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so I think this is about the time we're going to put our final thoughts into it. I'll go first because I'm going to be the most down on this game. And from everything I've heard, like, I hate to say it, but don't listen to me. But don't listen to me. I'm just going to put this out there. Look, I'll say that, like, the plot was a real downer for me. It's just that I went in this game expecting an emotional, like, roller coaster. And anything that didn't live up to my own expectations, I don't think really, No, it's the thing that didn't live up to my emotional expectations caused me to like the game less. And that's not fair to this game, because I went in this game thinking that I was going to have the same emotional experience I got from Nier, which was an experience I completely wasn't expecting because I went into it with no expectations. So because of that, it's really hard for me to get on board with this game the same way that maybe Adam and Riku did, and a lot of people who absolutely love this game. So I do take that on board, and that is my perspective. So I want people to understand that before playing this game. I don't love this game. At some point, it felt more of a chore than an actual game, especially the way the quests were handed out. But I mean, it's kind of the same as the same way as Nier, so that's not really a great excuse. And I think it's better than Xenoblade Chronicles, and I absolutely adore that game. So that is for what it's worth. The gameplay is solid. The music is fantastic. The graphics are really, really good. It's definitely a game you should check out, but as I've said earlier, it didn't click with me, and I'm kind of upset about it. I really wish it did, but it just didn't. So if I had to give this a score out of 10, I'd give it a 7. And I know you two hate the fact that I did that, but that's where I'm at. So on to you, Adam.
Well, first of all, I think when you go into any game with expectations, it's probably going to blow up in your face. And maybe one of the reasons why I loved Automata so much and kind of hold it on the same level as Nier or just above that is because I came into it somewhat skeptically. Nier was a very emotional experience for me, and I'm the type of person where if there's a sequel to a game that I really love, I'm going to expect it to not be quite as good as the first one because the hype sometimes just destroys my experience. And so when I went into it, absolutely loved it. Still do absolutely love it. It is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite games at this present moment in time. That list will change at some point, no doubt, because I'm not hampered by nostalgia where I think that Ocarina of Time is the best game ever made and continue to think that for 30 years. But where was I going with that? Oh, yeah.
Damn, Shane, he called you out.
Come on.
He's not going to listen to this.
Update your lists, buddy. You can't still think an outdated game is that great. In any case.
Well, I do, so continue on.
Well, you're wrong. Just like you were wrong about this game. But...
Shade.
Just kidding. Anywho, I loved it. I love the characters. I love their interactions. I think that if anybody who's listening to this who hasn't played it, yeah, you've spoiled yourself, but you know what? It's still an experience. So go ahead and play it anyway. But when you do, just realize that it may not live up to your expectations. So go into it tentatively and you might have a good time. And I just love the fact that so many people have found this game and it's really found its audience compared to Nier, which was such an underappreciated, at least sales-wise, unsuccessful, I suppose, probably you could call it. But it was a cult hit. And now Nier Automata is an actual hit and people are actually getting into it. And I can't wait to see what happens with the franchise. And I hope it keeps going. And I hope that each game is different. And yeah, love Yoko Taro. I think he is better than Hideo Kojima. 10 out of 10.
Ooh, I think that's actually fair.
That's super true.
Yeah.
Like, I liked Hideo Kojima's games, but man, Yoko Taro. My turn?
Yeah, your turn.
Sorry, I thought there was more coming to that. I was like, oh, what's he going to say about Yoko Taro?
No, Yoko Taro is just hilarious to me. He's such a good guy, and he defends cosplay and fan art.
Oh, yeah.
And love that about him. But the way I feel about this game is it's very special to me because I came to Nier in a very dark place. So when it got a sequel, I was like, oh, I'm in a better place now. The universe is giving me a gift. And I played through it and I was just like, man, it just made me want to go back and play Nier again. I never did, but hey, remake coming out. So yay for me. I think that if you play this, you should play it with English voice acting. I don't know why people changed the dub to sub, but whatever. And I don't know, this game it does so much right that I have to give it high marks. I mean, I'm sure there's a million things I could say. I wish I would have been able to replay it for this. But also the way this game ends, it kind of makes me not want to. Because, you know, you did it. You helped. You got them through it. And the way it ends, it kind of ends openly. So they can do whatever. Don't need to reset the timeline. Anyway, yeah, I mean, fucking A++, 10 on 10, whatever you want me to say.
One more thing, though. while you were talking, it just made me think that Nier Automata and Nier are less games to me than they are experiences. Like it's hit that transition for me now where I don't want to say games into art, but it's not just a game. It's like transcended that, and those two games, especially this one, are experiences rather than just games. So when I go to play it, I strap myself in. I'm like, I am ready for an experience, not I'm going to play a game type of thing.
No, I would 100% agree with
Yeah.
that. I would 100% agree with that.
And I'm super excited for the remake, and I can't wait till it comes out. And I hope that they actually do a rebuild of Evangelion type of thing with it, where they tell you it's going to be just a remake, but they switch things up a bit. And fingers crossed. But if not, I'm happy to read
I'd like that, but I'm also scared of it.
I don't want that.
You wouldn't want that?
No.
Oh, okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'm open. I'm open to change.
All right. So I think that wraps this episode up. Thank you both for stopping by and recording for a Gaiden and more importantly, thank you for being patrons. I'm about to say thank you for recording for a Gaiden that you guys get to listen to, but then it's more important that you guys are patrons. So thank you so much for joining me on this. Before we go, I'll give one last opportunity for you guys to share anything that you want people to find you on out there on the internet, or whatever the case may be. Riku, I think you may have a little less, so go ahead and plug yourself any way that you want to be plugged.
Okay, you can find me on the Retro Hangover Discord and the Secret Levels Discord, and I'm on Twitter. Don't follow me on Twitter. I'm terrible. I'm bad. Don't do it, but it's at WORGENRIKU. That's Worgen Riku. Don't ask me why that's my name. I used to play WoW.
All right, good deal. How about you, Adam?
Well, first of all, you are more than welcome to have me as not only a patron, but also a guest on this Gaiden. So you're welcome. Cool. Well, anyway, like I said earlier, I'm from The Good, The Bad, The Backlog. Everybody in your Discord and Patreon already knows that. So thank you for listening if you have. And if you don't, then that's totally fine too. I'm just happy to hang out and chat with you guys. So if you want to listen to me, you can find me on Spotify and iTunes and all those podcast places under The Good, The Bad, The Backlog. And I'm also on Twitter at Bad Backlog and Instagram at Good Bad Backlog, where I had recently uploaded some screenshots from my Xbox One X playthrough of Nier Automata. And Platinum Games gave me a like. So I was like, fuck yeah.
You've made
That's
it.
nice.
Okay, so that wraps that up, and thank you so much. I'm not going to plug this podcast, because if you're listening to this, I think you already know who the fuck we are, so thank you, and I appreciate it. So I guess until next time, play with your dummy thick Android-cheeked joysticks.
Bye.
Bye.